What was even maternity leave like for you?
Maternity leave looks like you go back to work at 5 weeks post C-section. Yes, that's what maternity is like as an entrepreneur, because if you don't show up, someone else will.
I am in a phase now where I am just honoring my season and also understanding that there are things blooming that are going to take a little bit slower.
My body's under stress. My daughter's being compromised right now. I need the doctor in here. Well, that nurse took it offensively that I didn't want to take her orders.
Kids are allowed to be bored, eh?
Oh,
They need to be.
to me.
They should be bored.
Yes,
They have to be bored.
creative children.
That's where creativity is born.
The pursuit of perfection. The pursuit is where the problem is. You can be a perfectionist, but if you're constantly pursuing perfection is another story.
Welcome to Mama and Her, the podcast.
A space for mature mothers and women navigating the exciting journey of motherhood after 35.
I'm Kayla,
And I'm Shannon.
your new mom friends, inviting you into conversation to help you thrive in your mom era.
We celebrate all the incredible layers that make you, you. Before mom, there was and still is so much more to you.
We're here to remind our community that you are still that girl.
Welcome back to another episode of Mama and Her, the place where faith, motherhood, and community meet. I'm Kayla.
And I'm Shannon.
And we are so glad that you have decided to spend a moment of your day or night with us. We appreciate you being part of our community. And today we are diving into a topic that is near and dear to all four ladies that are going to be on our set today. We're talking about mature motherhood, later having children later in life and on your own timeline in a way that is fully in your power.
That's right. Today we are joined by not one, but two incredible women whose stories are beautiful reminders that motherhood doesn't have a deadline. It's a calling that unfolds uniquely for each of us. These women are trailblazers, truth tellers, and now mamas navigating the new season with strength, softness, and so much style.
And I have the honor of calling them both friend, and we're just going to jump right in today. First up, we have Miss Kym Niles, a powerhouse fitness coach, passionate youth advocate, as well as founder of Self-Love Youth, an organization that is delivering culturally responsive programs for underserved youth. Now, Kym's impact in the community is absolutely unmatched, as well as her passion for the youth. And she continues now to pour that love and leadership into her daughter and in this new journey of motherhood. So welcome, Kym.
Thank you for having me.
And joining her is the incredible Nneka Elliott, a journalist, content creator, and actress who has blazed trails across Canadian media. Whether in front of the camera or behind the scenes, creating content, Nneka's voice has always been one of truth and authenticity. And now she's writing her most important story yet, motherhood. Welcome, Nneka.
I love that. Thank you.
Ladies, thank you for being here. Thank you for saying yes. As we were saying before we came on air, this is our first time we're doing this panel style. So like the four of us, but it's a big conversation with your girlfriends and, well, in our case, a cup of water, but maybe maybe you're listening at home with your tea at home, or maybe it's a rum and Coke. I don't know, but there's no judgment either way. But how are you both doing?
I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
I'm feeling good. You know what? I woke up and I looked at the temperature. I'm like, okay, what am I going to rock today? And I was like, 18. I'm like, all right, let's do it. Let's do it. 18 degrees. And it's like, yes, let's do this. I'm ready for the warm weather. I'm so done with the cold. So it was refreshing just to come outside and just not to have a jacket on and just soak it all up. So I am ready, and I'm honored to be here to have this conversation, a much needed conversation. I feel like this is going to be my first moment sitting down to actually unpack, right?
Yeah.
Bearing the
Yes.
fact that I have an 11-month-old, and it's like, I don't think I've actually stopped. So this is like, I've been looking forward to this moment just to like sit here and have this conversation and really, see what comes out of it.
And I love that you're able to do that here with us. Because
absolutely.
like you said, there's probably so many moms who feel the same, where when have you been able to stop and pause and reflect?
And when you celebrate her first birthday, you celebrate you as well.
Oh, yes.
But we'll get into that.
We're going to get into that.
We're going to get into that.
We're going to get into that.
Nneka, how are you
We won't
doing?
let it out yet.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. This is my favorite time of year in general, the renewal, the rebirth of it all. This is like my January. I'm very seasonal when it comes to my moods and where I go internally and the work that I do. So this is definitely a time when I'm blooming. I'm excited. So I am actually feeling really good. And in terms of motherhood as well, I'm in a good place, which has been a journey. So I feel honored to be able to say that I feel great.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely can relate to that. I feel like we all go through our ebbs and flows. And I think for the most part, it's safe to say all four of us were young mothers. Young in the sense that we have young children. You know, we've only been doing this for a few years. We still have a long way to go. And but at the same time, it's on the job experience and you're learning day by day. So typically how we start is we'll do a temperature check. So I know you guys are both feeling good, but we usually do a good, bad, and the ugly. Okay. Is there any bad or ugly you want to kind of share with us, whether it, be your day, your week? Maybe it's the fact that, I guess even the fact that we're out of winter. That's nice, right?
We made it.
I would say, I don't know if it's a bad or ugly or if it's part of the process, and it's kind of like all this journey of motherhood, right? But so yesterday, I went out and I bought, because my daughter's in this phase, so after 5 months, we did her room, her crib set up, everything nice. She was sleeping in it. Girl was doing great, sleeping through the night. 9 months comes along. She's like, I'm not going back in there.
Sorry, I'm laughing.
She's like, I'm not going back in there.
Yeah.
There was this switch, and I'm like, what happened? We were doing so well.
So well.
So we're like, okay. So every night now, she's sleeping with us in the bed. And I'm like, okay, we've got like wedding season coming up. We've got events where, her godmother's going to take her and she's going to be staying with family. And it's like, they ain't going to let you sleep like this.
Right.
So yesterday I'm like, okay, I'm going to go buy a playpen. I'm going to put her right at the side of the bed now so she can see us. So last night I got it all set up, put all her favorite blankets in there and everything. And dimmed the lights, put on her music and everything. And I got in the bed and she looked at me and she started crying. And she stands up now and everything and want to move around. So she's looking at me. She's like, you going to pick me up? And I'm like, girl, you going to lie down?
Yeah.
And it's this tug of war, right? 5 minutes. I'm like, nope. I'm sitting there. I'm like, come on, girl. You going to lie down, lie down. And she's like, nope. And then she's crying. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, what do you do now? This is it. And I give in, of course. And I pick her up, put her on me, and she snuggles up and she goes to sleep. And I'm like, I lost the battle.
Yeah.
I lost the battle.
Listen, I lost it too, girl. So we
I'm
in
like,
it together.
I lost the battle. I'm like,
I don't know if it's a battle, but I know what you mean. Yeah.
I'm like, how are we going to do this?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I would say, I don't know if this bad or ugly or part of the ebbs and flows of motherhood.
Yeah.
But that's my struggle this week. And I went out it was at Walmart. I'm like, we're getting this. We're going to put you right next, because I figure in her room, she can't see us.
Right.
But in our room, it's mesh, it's everything. You could see us, you know what I mean? And nope, that didn't work. So I don't know. I'll try again. So I won't give up. It's her first night, because she's like, what's this foreign container that you have me in here? So I'll get her used to it and maybe in the daytime to get her sleeping in it.
Or did you try transferring her once she was asleep?
Yes, but she's smart, eh? She knows the warmth.
Yeah. Yeah.
She knows your heartbeat.
Oh, my. When you hold her, she's good. She snuggles up.
Yeah.
You put her down, give her about 20 minutes. I'm like, how do you know what time it is? Like,
Oh, they know. And it's, what's best for you, for your situation and for her and for you, For me, I was still co-sleeping.
Yeah.
I couldn't, that's just what works. I don't know, right? But it's not for everyone and everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just, that's one of the messages of this conversation, I think, is to be able to lean in what feels best for you and your situation. So I feel you. I know where that it was. I know what that's like.
I think if anything too, as we, as we continue to talk to more and more moms on this podcast, it's like what you said, Nneka, it really goes to show what works for me is not going to work for you, that would maybe work for you, that will definitely not work for the next mom. So the point of it all is not to take it and mimic what I say or what worked for Kayla, but to trust your own motherly intuition because you have it. And I think my favorite quote about motherhood is that you are the perfect mother to your child.
Yes.
God gave you like exactly what you need, and you possess what you need, even on days when we may not feel it, or we may feel like unqualified, or we may feel like we have lost the day, or whatever the case is. But you're still the perfect parent and mother specifically for your child, and just lean into that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Nneka? Any bad?
Oh, bad. I guess it's always just that dance. My daughter Rain is 4, and it's just the friendships at school now, starting to talk about these different things and what is a friend and how to navigate those things, and me trying to regulate my feelings of just like, well, just say you ain't want to play. You don't want to talk to them. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's sometimes you just want to. So there's a little bit of that balance, that delicate space that we're in right now.
I hear you.
So it's not a bad. It's just a rewiring of my brain, which happens all the time, you know, but it just comes in different packages. So that's the package where I'm at right now. And also trying not to give into summer anxiety. I always get anxious summertime because I feel like we have to do some short window with this weather. So we have to get things done and do things. So trying to deal with that.
Yeah. Always trying to make the most of it, fill it in. You know, someone said, you know, kids are allowed to be bored, eh?
Oh,
They need to be.
to me.
They have
They
to be.
should be bored.
Yes.
They have to be
create
bored.
creative children.
That's where creativity is born.
It is,
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
learn about themselves. When we were in St. Vincent on vacation recently, Rain was playing with a rock,
Yeah.
a stone. Like, we brought the
Yes.
stones back.
That's what we did as kids.
yes.
Wait, remember when you would be in the backseat of your parent or adult's car and you would watch rain?
Yeah.
Literally,
Dripping
like
on-
rain would become
no
a race
tablet.
on the window. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
I know exactly
Like
what
little
you
things
mean.
like those things are gone.
Or
but yeah,
I Spy.
They're allowed.
I
Oh, we
Spy.
love that.
Yeah.
For sure.
Just
We're big
creativity
on that.
and,
I know.
problem solving skills.
Yeah, we're so busy keeping them busy.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Service of it.
And sometimes we could definitely take we can use a bit of a break. Our
Yes.
pockets could
Yes.
use a bit of a break, like in general. Yeah.
Societally, there's a big push, and I should have said that was my bad. I'm dealing with that right now, not overscheduling her,
Yeah.
but
That's actually
another
perfect
story.
timing, or maybe even a reminder for not only just us, but our listeners too, as we embark on the summer season, right? So, okay, you heard that lovely little ding. That was the end of our first quarter. So we are going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to continue this amazing conversation with Nneka and Kym. You're watching Mama and Her. Stay with us. All right, welcome back to quarter 2 of Mama and Her. We are talking with Kym Niles and Nneka Elliott. And ladies, we're going to just jump right into the very beginning of when you became mom and the entire pregnancy experience. Of course, naturally, the emphasis of our show is on the mature mama. And Nneka, you were 37 when you gave birth to Rain. And Kym, you were 42 when you gave birth to Zendaya. So what was it like? And of course, everyone, you know, our community knows Shannon's story as well, giving birth at 40. I myself was, I guess, on the younger side of geriatric, in my early 30s. But what was pregnancy like for the two of you? Or actually, before I even ask that question, I'll start even further back. Was the intention or was the game plan to be a mature mom?
I really didn't have a set timeline. I was very, very career oriented. That was my identity. And I think my husband and I just at one point sort of said, there's never a perfect time for this. So we should sort of, let's do some stuff here. And then, and then, it took some time, but there was not that pressure. And I can't say if that was the intention. I was not one of these people who envisioned how many kids I was going to have, when I was going to have them. But I didn't really even think about mature versus not. Like, there were so many people in my space.
But you know
who
how
were
family,
having-
friends, society
Yes.
has the clock, right?
Yes.
Whether the clock's not ticking for you, but if it's ticking for someone else, putting their own pressure onto you. Did you ever feel that?
Not necessarily, and I had a lot of people and a lot of, I guess, in terms of the things that I observe within our community, where women were having kids later,
Yeah.
so it was a little bit of an affirmation for me. But for sure, I had a few conversations where had to ask family members, why are we not having this conversation with my brother? Why are you not asking him about the when is he having a child and how our babies are going to be cute, like my husband and I or whatever, right? Like what, but it never bothered me, no.
I love that for you. Yeah, because not a lot of women experience that.
I think likewise.
Yeah.
Definitely career driven, for sure. And I never felt like 40. I never felt 41. I never felt the pressure of needing to have a child. I guess my beginnings were a little bit more unorthodox than many, kind of having to raise myself from a very young age. So I was always wanting to discover who I am and really trying to figure out what is my purpose here. I would say that I've been blessed to be given the consciousness to be able to have self-awareness at a really young age. And I think my journey becoming, like even just getting pregnant, was a little bit different because I went to the doctor at 38 and they told me that they kept pressuring. They're like, oh, do you want kids? Do you want kids? And I'm just like, yeah, I do. They're like, your clock is ticking, it's time. And then they also discovered that I had a fibroid. And they're like, well, if you do want kids, you got to look into having that a little bit sooner, right? Because there could be complications and so forth. And I thought, okay, whatever. Was
that the first time of you finding out about your fibroid?
Yes, that was the first time that I found out that I had a fibroid. And still, I just never thought anything of it. Went on 39, 40, go back for your regular appointment. And they're like, this thing is getting larger. And, you need to really think about this. And I'm like, okay, all right, I guess, and in talking to my partner about it, and, he's like, whatever it is, it is. If this is something we want, it will happen. And it wasn't that I never thought I was going to have kids. We always actually said we wanted twins, to be honest. We even had the names and everything mapped out. And it was just like, when it's going to happen, it's going to happen. But never felt the pressure of it. And now bearing the work that I do, because I work with a lot of youth, I call them my babies. I've always called them my kids. So in a sense, I never felt like I was missing that gap. Right? Because it's like there's so many of these young people that are looking for leadership. They're looking for parents. They're looking to be loved. And I felt like I was filling that gap, as small as it was, but I felt that I was doing it.
I would argue that it's not small. You filled a huge gap, actually.
Yes. But sometimes when you walk away from situations, you're like, what more can I do? Is always the place that I know, Shannon, you could probably contest to this being a teacher as well. But I would say it was never something where I put a lot of pressure on myself, where I felt like I needed to have kids. But when it did happen, it was like, it did shock me.
Did it?
100%. I remember because what happened was, we had just gotten back from a vacation in Jamaica, and I was like, okay, I know I ate pretty bad. Okay, like, when you ate pretty bad, and you're like, okay, I didn't really pass the bar too many times and not stop. So I'm like, okay, right?
Came back with a few pounds.
Yeah, I expected it. I expected it. I left room in the pants for that. So what happens when you get pregnant and you have a fibroid? Fibroids are fed by estrogen. So estrogen spikes when you get pregnant, and so that feeds the fibroid. So the fibroid actually grew in me. So my stomach just protruded right away, and it was like I went to the doctor, and he said to me, "It's like, Kym, your uterus is at the size of someone that's like 20 weeks pregnant." And I'm like, wow. How's that possible?
Yeah.
Right? Not even fathoming the thought of pregnancy or anything. So he's like, I'm thinking this has to be something to do with this fibroid, right? Yeah. And then so he says to me, he's like, well, let's just do a pregnancy test just in case. Just to see.
Why not?
Just, he said to his exact words, actually, he's like, it would be silly of me as a physician to rule that out.
Yeah.
If, I'm like, sure, let's do it. I mean, let's go. I went to the life labs. I'm like, okay, no problem. Yeah. I'm waiting to hear how are we going to fix this fibroid, right? And then he calls me. I'll never forget. It was like this Tuesday. It was like September 21st. Tuesday, we were having dinner. Like our dinners are pretty sacred at my house. So we're having dinner, drinks out, everything, whatever. I can't remember what we're eating. And the doctor calls. I said, he's calling. So I answered the phone. He's like, hello. And I'm like, so the results are back. You know, doctors have a way of telling you news over the phone. So you're pregnant. It's like
Knife and fork.
no, it's more like put the wine down.
yeah. Step away.
And then start thinking, how much wine have I been having?
You know, okay. And then all of a sudden, your world changes. Like,
Yeah.
you just get this. It just hits you.
Yep.
Like suddenly, you know. And I consider myself pretty calm in intense situations, but this one took me out. I was like, okay, thank God I'm sitting. And I was like, okay. And he's like, it sounds like I caught you off guard just a little bit. Just a tad.
Just a tad.
Just a tad. And he's like, okay, so maybe we'll get you taking some prenatals and folic acid, and then I'll get you in the office and we'll get the process started if that's what you want to do. I'm like, okay. All right. To get off the phone, my partner looks at me. He's like, you're pregnant. I'm like, yeah. And my jaw drops. He's like, I thought so. I'm like, okay, thanks for sharing, you know? So it was a little bit of an unorthodox start for mine. And it just, knowing my nature of I'm a research junkie. So it was like, okay. And I honestly, in my younger years, I really wasn't around a lot of babies. Like compared to, because I was so career focused. I was just always like, go. I was always chasing numbers. I was always in sales. So it's like every night I went to bed, it was like, how am I going to hit that quota tomorrow? Like that's how my mind worked. It was a journey for me. Even coming to your baby shower, I was like, oh my God, what do you buy a baby? Like, what do you get them? Like, thank God she has a list here. Cause, you know.
Even now, I still don't know like how old kids are.
Yeah.
Even though you're still looking like, are you 2, 3? Just
You're still
because
like,
you're
like,
a mom.
she's 6.
Yes,
Yeah.
6. Because you're a mom doesn't really make you a
No.
mom person,
Yeah.
a kid.
Can-
You know what I mean?
100% relate to that. Prior to becoming a mom, never had that motherly instinct the way
Yeah,
that I
same.
saw other women have it. And
Same.
I'm looking at them, I'm like, come so natural to
Yeah.
them. They just pick up the kids, and
Yeah.
and they're babysitting them, and I'm over here like, hello.
I know.
I never would hold
How
people
are you
babies.
today?
Yes. How are you, little man?
They scared me. I was like, nope.
Yeah.
Right?
Now, I guess, quick foreshadowing, but did you feel that instinct instantly, or did it
Yes.
take time?
I felt it.
I felt it.
I
Yes.
felt it too.
It
What about
doesn't
you, Shan?
always happen.
Oh no,
that way.
I didn't think it was real. Remember I shared this, like I didn't think it was real until he gave birth. So when he came out, listen, I don't know. I'm so not a baby. Like I teach middle school, like those are my peoples. So no, I was nervous, but as I got to know him and but he preferred Paul over me a
From
lot.
the beginning. Oh, my
Yeah, so
goodness.
I felt away, like I was like, really? Okay. And he's my son. But
Oh no! in I guess just having a career where I've been at the forefront in terms of making things happen and having to push and having to advocate and often feeling like the only one in the room, in the newsroom, in that space where there's always a lot of imposter syndrome. I say this all the time. The minute she was born, I was like, this feels right, comfortable. There's no imposter syndrome. I know exactly what I have to do. This is my task.
That's beautiful.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I know that that's not, it's a privilege to say that. And everybody has their journey, you know?
Yeah, and speaking of journey, so okay, you're pregnant, you're carrying, and of course, as we know, unfortunately, the reality of it is that in Canada, there's not nearly enough information when it comes to Black women and maternal health and statistics.
They don't do race-based
No.
statistics. Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say not nearly enough. There isn't. Sure, you can look to this. You can look stateside. Talk to us about the 9-month journey for you, Kym. You mentioned you're a research junkie, right? And naturally, right? Because especially as a fitness coach, like you just learn so much about the body, and I'm sure you can probably attest to it. Shannon and I have talked about this a number of times, especially given our athletic background, similar to you. We're thinking pregnancy is going to be a breeze. Bounce back, breeze. Was that a breeze for you?
Oh, no breeze at all. Not at all. So pregnancy for me, from the nutrition standpoint, it was probably the cleanest I've ever eaten, to be honest. The only craving I had was mangoes.
Interesting.
Yeah, that was the only craving, and that's my partner's favorite food. Like, he loves mangoes. One of them, I should say. And it was crazy. As soon as I gave birth, I had no desire for mango. None. But that was my only craving. But it was really just to find out how to nourish my body properly. That was really important for me, especially when you go in. Like my first day in the obstetrician's office was, okay, advanced geriatric. You are of advanced age.
Oh my goodness.
Did you feel like they were really hitting, like pushing advanced?
You know what? It was crazy because here's the thing. It's like I went there at 8 weeks. So I was 8 weeks pregnant on my first visit. And it was almost like, it was kind of this vibe of like, you may or may not make it. Do you know that vibe where it's like
be prepared for anything?
Yeah, be prepared for anything, and it was rough.
It's such not a nice feeling to add on. Like you're already having a mix of emotions of everything, right?
Correct.
I'm sure, of course, more joy, but still nerves, and then to see the professional come into the mix and add that into like
this is still early when you hear these words, right? So you're like, okay. And then you get to 12 weeks, and then it's like, okay, you're feeling kind of good. And then you get to 20 weeks now. Okay, you did that major scan. All the fingers and toes are showing up. Things are looking okay. You still got to be careful. And, I would say generally mine was okay. But I also had a fibroid that grew bigger than her.
Jeez.
So through my pregnancy, I looked like I was carrying twins. Because this fibroid it just grew to 16 centimeters right off the bat because it's fed by estrogen.
Was there any concern that it was going to impact
the
baby Z?
The good thing for mine was it was higher up.
Okay.
So it was out of the way. It wasn't like around the fallopian tubes or anything like that. It was higher up on me. So it was kind of out. They said it was the best place it could be for a fibroid.
Got it.
God is good. That's
right.
Listen.
Do you understand? And I was like, okay, so that had added a layer of fear in me all the time. Like it was something that was always on my mind.
Yeah.
Right? So now it's like you're growing a baby and then you have this thing, or so you're thinking extra cautious. And then you start doing research, and there's not a lot of research out there in regards to having a fibroid and being pregnant and then being at an advanced age, and what are all the complications that go with this. And the internet, I tell you though, could be your best friend or your worst enemy.
Yeah. Depending on how you want to use it.
Right? And then even for myself, at like going in for 20 weeks, they didn't measure me anymore because my measurements were at 30 weeks.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I wasn't measuring. So he's threw out the tape. Like it didn't make sense anymore.
Yeah.
And I actually got more scans than the average person because they decided to monitor her more just to see what was going on. So I was getting a scan every 4 weeks. I was going in. So in a sense, it kind of gave me comfort.
Yes.
Right? As opposed to having to just wait to 36 weeks and that's like your last scan.
Sure.
So I was getting a scan every 4 weeks, but it was just kind of like, okay, I got to be mindful, and then the kind of the scare that they gave you. And you've got so much going through your mind. I would say physically, my body wasn't impacted as much as my mind. It was my mind that I had to control. That's what I had to control. And it was just thinking of all the things that, I don't know what it was for me, but it was like, I felt so vulnerable being pregnant. I didn't feel like I had the opportunity to walk around and celebrate it. Where it kind of goes with my personality as well, I guess, too, where it's like I usually can tell the outcome. And pregnancy is actually one of those places that you don't actually know the outcome.
I think that's also why it's also motherhood is a very difficult chapter or season. Like it's a bit of a wrestling match for type A women.
Right.
Because
there's no control.
Zero.
Yes.
Right?
Oh, that for sure.
Did you wrestle with that?
Yeah. Well, obviously, I had Rain during the pandemic. Found out day before shutdown kind of thing, and so it's the whole thing was filled with the unknown and what's going to happen, and the you've heard the discussions, and I still think there's a lot to unpack with women who have gone through that, men and women, like the having
pandemic children.
Yes,
absolutely, because you were robbed of so many different experiences, or it was just very, very different than what anyone else in
precisely
history will experience.
Yeah, and it was, for me also, it was during the sort of the Black reckoning and George
yes.
Floyd and all of
Yes.
that was going on. And so I was just trying to protect my mind, like you were saying, protect her, not getting stressed. I have this public profile where I am looked upon to perhaps say things, and I'm just like, I'm just trying to keep myself calm here.
Yeah.
Right? But definitely type A, which is a term I don't always love. When my friends say I'm a perfectionist, I don't love it. I don't see anything wrong with that. The pursuit of perfection. The pursuit is where the problem is. You can be a perfectionist, but if you're constantly pursuing perfection is another story. You were speaking to after the fact, or are we still talking about before now? You wanted to...
Or during your pregnancy, was it overall, as you look
Yeah.
back on it, was it a relatively smooth? Did you enjoy
yes,
being pregnant?
I did enjoy it. I did enjoy it. It was lovely. My hair was fabulous.
Flourishing.
Right.
My skin flourished. And I know that's not always the case. The first trimester, I was like, how are these people up and about going to work in the first trimester? Because we were home. Nobody ever touched my baby, my stomach. Nobody, I never had that. I spent like a month under a blanket hiding from smells and scents and all these things, right? But, pregnancy, I really did enjoy. Other than being in the pandemic, obviously. But afterwards, a different story, right?
So because you gave birth during the pandemic, like I was at the beginning, you were kind of deep. How was that? Your experience at the hospital giving birth?
Yes. Well, my husband didn't have any access in terms, he was there at the birth, but in terms of the scans and so forth, everything was very cold, very clinical, not warm at all. I didn't mind giving birth in a mask because I could make all the faces. But yeah, it was definitely shrouded in a lot of fear. But I keep saying after the fact is where it played even more of a role, the pandemic and having a small child in the pandemic and the lack of access to family in the village and resources and everything was pretty hard for me.
Kym, you had mentioned an OB. Nneka, I'm not sure if you had an OB or an OB as well.
Should not have.
How did that leads me to my question. Yeah, how did you feel supported, especially as Black women, from the choice that choosing to go the OB route, the particular doctor and staff that you had? Was it a pleasant experience, or I guess looking back in hindsight, was there a bit of, I don't want to say trauma, but was it not the greatest of scenarios?
I would say my birth was a story to be told for sure. My daughter was breached originally, and she was breached up until 36 weeks. And then she turned at 36 weeks. So I had a planned C-section, which was for May 9th. Okay. That was her planned C-section. I ended up with a C-section on May 10th. Because of the lack of research on fibroids and how they react in women's bodies, I would say it contributed definitely to the fact why I wasn't dilating, because I was induced, right? I was induced and I was in labor for almost 48 hours. And the induction process is horrific, especially if it's your first. And I would say that in the hospital, I won't mention their names, I'll save you guys from that. The hospital that I went to, I guess the doctor, they worked on rotation. So the obstetrician, it's like a host of them, right? So they take different shifts. So my doctor, I didn't end up seeing him till the Thursday because I went in on the Wednesday. When I was induced on the Wednesday, induced at 8 a.m., went back in the evening at 4 because they said my cervix was completely shut. The first doctor that I saw, she asked me, she was like, were you given the option for a C-section because of this fibroid? I said, yes, but my doctor recommended that I try to do it natural because my daughter turned. She's like, okay, no problem. She didn't want to go against him. I could tell. So she went through with the induction. That night I went back and the pain, it was kicking in. Oh, it was coming at me. And I remember one of the nurses there in the ward, they were trying to check for her heartbeat. And I guess because of how she would turn in my stomach, it would be hard to find her heartbeat. This lady literally threw the heart monitor on the ground. My partner was standing there and she's like, I can't find the heartbeat, and stormed out of the room.
She did not.
I looked at him and I said, okay, so what do I do here? Like, what do we do with this? Right?
Ma'am, that's your job.
Exactly, right? And would you have done this if I was not a Black woman laying here on this table right now? Right? And I just thought, okay, keep calm. I'm in pain anyway. So I said, she came back. I'm like, I need the morphine because this just to take the edge off. She administered that to me. It took it down. And the doctor came back. She's like, she can put it's a balloon, I think they put in for the...
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. She's like, we're going to put this in and we're going to send you home. It's going to be okay. You come back. You should be back in the morning. I'm like, okay, no problem. So I come back in the morning and my doctor's there now. So he admits me. I'm dilated 5 centimeters. And he's like, we can do this. We can put you in. Doesn't matter. I sat there for hours and they admitted me into the hospital, got my room. And at 12 o'clock, I want to say, the pain was so out of this world, I decided to take epidural.
Epidural, yeah.
Was on the epidural for all the way, epidural until I gave birth. I was not dilating. Then they gave me oxytocin. So they broke my water at 10 p.m. at night. So at 10 p.m. they broke my water because they're like, this is a new doctor now. Because my doctor was on the day shift. Then it's a new doctor. So this is getting frustrating now. It's like I now seen 3 doctors. Okay, last doctor now. She's like, let's break your water. This should speed up the process. I'm like, okay, cool. That's 10 p.m. At 2 a.m. in the morning, nothing's happening. The nurse comes in. She's like, you're out of the regular amount of oxytocin. So like the doctor's willing to try to give you more. I'm like, no.
More oxytocin?
Yeah.
It's a cycle, right?
Yeah.
It keeps you, one slows it down, one speeds it up.
So I'm like, nope. I said, nope, I'm not taking any more oxytocin. I said, my body's under stress. My daughter's being compromised right now. I need the doctor in here. Well, that nurse took it offensively that I didn't want to take her orders. I'm like, I could care less what you're saying. I can't move my legs right now, but my mouth still works. So I need the doctor in here ASAP. And she was like, and she sent another nurse in to talk to me. And I said, I know you're not putting another oxytocin on there. You're going to hold that bag. You're going to go back outside and you're going to get that doctor. And that speaks to the fact of you have to advocate for yourself when you're in there.
100%.
You just have to. And then, so the doctor came in and I said to her, I'm done. We're going to have a C-section. And I need my daughter out and I need to be on my way onto recovery.
Yes.
I've had enough. And she's like, you have that right.
Oh, exactly.
And then at that time, she also asked me if I wanted to have my fibroid removed at that time. And she said, you can. She can take it out, but I would risk having blood transfusions. And I was like, you know what? I'm done. I can't leave it there. Let it be. I just want my daughter out safely and I want to have her skin to skin. And I want this process to end right now, right? So I could begin my journey. And she's like, no problem. She brought the paperwork in. She's like, you have the right to make the call for yourself. And then that nurse came back in and she was giving me attitude. And I'm like, I said, I don't know what your problem is, but if there's someone else on shift,
I can't believe that.
I was like, we need to switch you out because we're not doing this.
No, when you're in your most vulnerable state ever. And the last thing that you need is attitude from somebody when your life is, not only is it their job, your life is in their hands, literally.
Yes. And it's unbelievable. But speaking to sort of the Black maternal experience, a lot of it has to do, for me, with pain threshold. How much you can handle as a Black woman, right? In the sense that if there was not another Black nurse in there to help advocate for me, that speaks to the importance of making sure that there are technicians, nurses, OBG, everybody that covers a wide breadth of diversity to allow you to speak and for her to say, listen, I think she's in a lot of pain here, so let's just get going. Because I kept saying I would like to push. And they were pushing for the C-section route. And I was like, let's try. I mean, long story short, she was sunny side. She was facing up. Somebody else, I think Kennedy was facing up.
She was... Well, no, she was
down.
She was down, but her head was stuck.
Right.
And
Ray
that-
was like, I want to see what's happening. Where the party at? So to have people there to be able to also back you up is so important, because there's this misconception that you can handle anything as a Black woman. You know, that's why I'm very pro
It's
soft
just so
at the moment.
upsetting to think like you have to not only be there to give birth for the first time, or usually the first time in these experiences, that's your focus. And then you're having to deal with all these other things. and then thinking you might
you
lose your
shouldn't
life,
have
that
to.
you should not. The fact that you're taught like and someone who's there to care for you and to make sure you survive and your baby survive is giving attitude is just unacceptable and just very traumatic and upsetting, and it's just unbelievable.
And I think too, with me, I also wrote my birth plan as to what my expectations were. So one of the things I had on there is I didn't want any students in the room. And some of them were offended by that because they had students.
And it was a student hospital?
Yes.
Yeah.
So they had students, and I because I knew my situation, and I knew, I just knew, for me, it was just myself and my partner in there. I didn't have the family around. It was just both of us, right? And I just wanted it to be like that. That's what I wanted. And I'm very clear. I think that one of the things they got out of this is like, there are Black women out there. We're very clear on what we want. So I listed it out. I only made 10 points. And I was like, 1, 2, it wasn't a storybook.
Only 10.
10 points. Well, 10 points.
Okay.
Here's what I want you to do. In this event, this is what I want you to do.
Right.
Right? So it was like, they were like, okay. And one of the first points, I think was the third point, no students, right? Just the people that need to be in there, and that's it. Right? So, and what happened was, when my doctor originally came in before I was admitted to the hospital, it was like 4 of them that came in. So then the nurse had to pull them to the side and say, here's her birth plan. Because if you're on a table in the hospital and 4 people and 6 people show up to your room, you're thinking, okay, what's happening here?
Yeah.
It just, your nervous system can't handle that.
Listen, I totally agree. And like you said, everyone has the right, like I understand, well, it's for the greater good of science and medicine and all of the, but at the end of the day, you have your right. And like you said, if you want this to be an intimate setting, and if that's the way in which you're going to be able to be as comfortable and as relaxed as possible, no one should be, the result of that should not be, well, now I'm going to give you attitude for the rest of the time because you're not really open to us having our students there.
You've got every other person you could do. Babies, how many babies born a day, right? So,
or just stand over there and watch. Right? But we should wrap up.
I know.
We're gonna have to.
We heard that ding long ago. We'll take a quick short break, but we will be right back with the third quarter of Mama and Her. Stay with us.
Welcome back to the third quarter, where we're talking about all things mature motherhood. Now we're just going to shift into something that happens to all of us, our identity shift when we become a mom. I know, Nneka, you talked about how career-driven you have been, and having children wasn't at the top of your list. It wasn't something you stressed about. So can you share with us, how did motherhood reshape your identity as a woman and your daily life as a career woman?
It definitely, that was the biggest struggle for me, just the battle back and forth of feeling like I'm not doing enough because I was not used to the silence. I was not used to being still because as a woman in this entertainment industry and media and social media, you have to constantly show up and prove yourself over and over and be visible and be doing things. And at least there's the idea that you have to be doing that. And when you have a child, there's so many tender moments of just being quiet. And I did not know how to do that. I was not taught that, especially as a Black woman. It is hustle. And you have to work harder, as we've heard time and time again. I was not taught how to slow down. And so that was a big struggle for me, understanding how to do that. And really having a baby just broke me open. It was a miracle. It was a mirror. It's a marathon, but it's magic. And I'm still now coming into terms with who I am. I've had a lot of grief mourning my past life, mourning my past priorities as wanting to be an actor and, once anchor, reporter, all those things, and recognizing how a lot of these professions do not center parents and mothers, but certainly not parents. And so you kind of have to you're like, I don't think I can have these dreams anymore. But I am in a phase now where I am just honoring my season and also understanding that there are things blooming. There are dreams that are rooted that are going to take a little bit slower, but when the season for that bloom is to happen, when it is divine timing, that it will happen. Because, as we know, delay is not denial,
yes.
right? It's divine timing. And so I've had to learn that. That's been my biggest thing in terms of the identity shift and just learning who I am now. But it's been a big thing, yeah.
And, backstory for our followers is that Nneka and I technically were not colleagues. We were actually passing ships. And I actually owe part of my career to Nneka for answering an email when I was a young and up-and-coming journalist. And you answered.
You remember.
And Nneka gave me the heads up saying, well, my last day is Thursday, so if you're trying to apply, you better apply now. And I know you and I, we've had a lot of conversations just as women, and in our career fields. But I've been very open about this, that I walked away from TV news and from that industry because it was no longer aligned with my priorities, especially being a mom. And Kym, I know you're a different field, but also another field that also, whether it's hours, whether it's lifestyle, whether it's demands, not exactly friendly to the working mom. And so how have both of you wrestled with that? How did you have to sort of reprioritize things? Or is that still a work in progress?
I would say that I'm coming from being an entrepreneur and having a newborn.
What was even maternity leave like for you?
Maternity leave looks like you go back to work at 5 weeks post C-section. Yes, that's what maternity is like as an entrepreneur, because if you don't show up, someone else will.
Right.
And that's the reality. And because bearing that I do work within the school system, the summers are off. So I have to take advantage of any time between September and June. And my daughter was born in May. It means that you show up and you still have to push through. Lucky for myself, I have a very supportive partner that understands and shows up and is there and is willing to be the dad that he needs to be in order for me to continue to do the work that I do, especially because a lot of my work is it's purpose work. It's working with young people that did not have parents that had the capacity. And now having a baby, it has brought such enlightenment to me to understand the capacity that you do need to raise a child, and to understand how many students and children just end up neglected, not even necessarily, no fault of even their parents, because they didn't even know what the requirements were. They didn't have the prerequisites, nor did they know what it required in order to raise a child. And one of the things, I was having a conversation with a young lady that is an international student here from Nigeria. And she said, Kym, honestly, if I had a kid, I would send them back to Nigeria. Community still exists there. Whereas here, there is none. Like, I don't know my next door neighbor.
Yeah.
Even
that conversation of at this point now, moms have to be intentional. You have to create your own village.
You do.
Because if you don't create it, it will not show up,
Absolutely.
Unfortunately.
And I don't think it's anybody's fault. I don't think people are maliciously not being part of your village, but it's just real estate, it's traffic, it is bills, it is mental health, there's so many things that were not present or aren't as prevalent, so to speak, in like a place like Nigeria or St. Vincent, which is where I'm from. And it's like, you got to pay for that village.
Yeah,
right.
It's different.
So.
It is a different. It's different here. But as an entrepreneur, it means that I worked up until like a week before I gave birth.
So 39
same.
weeks and then back at it at 5 weeks postpartum.
Yes, absolutely.
I did the same. I think I was doing a segment for my new home because we moved the day I gave birth. Was our moving day, by the way.
Oh boy.
That's fun.
Yeah, fun. So and I was doing a segment from my house the next day, like a week after, because it's still. Yeah.
I was gonna say to Kym's point, you're saying hey, if I don't show up in the entrepreneurial field, someone else will.
Absolutely.
You know that exact feeling, Nneka, right? Like the pressures, especially in TV broadcasting. forget, like, how soon can you get back?
Yes.
And sometimes some women, you know, maybe some management will be a little more lenient, but there is that underlying unsaid pressure of the snapback and how soon can you get back?
Precisely. And, you know, I was breastfeeding when I was on a set and I was acting, and, you know, they didn't have a space for me. I was breastfeeding in some random bathroom, and things got spilled, and there's just so many things that just are not in place that we talk about supportive. But I feel like me slowing down is deemed as radical because I made a decision that I was going to slow down and be present and step back and take on this stay-at-home mom life, so to speak, which as a Black woman, I don't see a lot. I love my garden. I love, you know, Rain is in school now, so it's a little bit different. I'm in my wellness era because I'm like having the time. But that's hard when you're parenting differently. And that was a choice I made in terms of coming to terms with what I was recognizing about my industry. And I'm also redefining what success means.
Come on now.
Right? You have to redefine what success means. And you also have to think about things in different ways. So I'm being very creative about the jobs that I take on, the roles that I take. You know, I don't take calls after 3. I want to be present. There are things that my husband and I both, like, and I have to give him credit too for also having that stance in terms of the kind of life that we want. But yeah, it's been a big change, but you have to be deliberate.
I think it's definitely a work in progress. There's things I had to put down for sure.
Yeah.
Right? Because I knew I couldn't put down
What were some of those things?
social media.
Yeah.
For sure. It was
Well,
definitely
that was my work, but it's true.
Yeah, but it is a job, although I recognize that it is attached to what I do. But the amount of time that it takes, especially, I had to weigh out my options. Like, I don't get to get this first year back. Right? So I have to enjoy it, but yet I still have to work. So then it's like my time is used so intentionally. Like, if I know I'm going to be working from, say, 9 to 3, as Nneka said, after 3, it's like I shut off. Like, you will not get me. You'll get me back tomorrow at 8 a.m., right? I think it's something where you have to be so intentional, right? It could be that I can't go to every function that I see. I want to inside, but then it's like, I look at this little person crawling on me, and it's like, no, I need to be here for her.
Right.
It'll be times where it's like, I just have to I can't take certain jobs or certain clients because the benefit,
Yeah.
you got to weigh it out.
It's a privileged conversation to have, right? And people think that you have to be privileged to be able to take a step back like I did. Do we need a new car? Of course. Do I buy new clothes? No. You know what I mean? But this is a choice that I've made. And if I think we need to prepare people, and Black women specifically, you know, things like paying into that EI from before. I didn't do it long enough, so I had to work right away because I didn't have enough saved in EI. Those kind of conversations we need to have to give people the freedom to choose, because it's so often it's like you gotta either build the empire or build the home. But most people just want to be kind of in the middle somewhere, or just at least have the option to. I'm just so tired of the either do work or be at home conversation. Just do what you want to do in the season and do enough research to prepare yourself to have that choice.
And I love that you talk about season because it's not forever.
No.
Exactly. Yes.
And I feel like both of you leaned into this shift in yourselves. And you said you broke open. I love that term, actually. It actually feels exactly how it felt. But how do you both, you know, you have goals and dreams still, even though there's been a shift or a slowdown or a pause. But how do either of you take care of yourselves and still accomplish the goals you have for now? How do you keep those dreams going? Because you both are in the depths of motherhood. You know, your children are young. And I know, Nneka, you said that you feel finally you're able to breathe a little right now and have some time. But how do you guys keep your goals and your dreams alive?
I think because I had my daughter at such a advanced age, if I could call it that, I feel like I've already partially stepped into most of my purpose as to what I'm supposed to do and my calling and I feel at home, I feel at peace. And I think when we talk about redefining success, for me, success is peace. Do I have that? Do I feel that? Do I feel that sense that I have to, do I have to feel a sense of belonging to something, or do I feel at peace with myself? Do I feel at peace with God? Do I feel like I'm here, my work on earth? Because at the end of the day, and this is what it had to come down to, at the end of the day, when you get to those gates, it's going to be, did you do the work?
Yep.
It's not going to be how many followers I had, how many TikToks I did, how many likes I got, how many people knew me. It won't even matter. And I get to be in the trenches with some of the darkest moments with kids. And that, I cry. Sometimes I cry with them. They're like, Miss, because I just, sometimes people don't need to know that you're sorry. You just feel with them. And I feel like for me, I've had the ability to kind of step into that. And I feel at peace when I'm doing what I'm doing. I would do what I do for free.
Yeah.
No problem. No questions asked. Right? And that's her.
Yes. Her.
That's her.
Yeah.
And I think we don't talk about the benefits of being a mature mom.
Yeah.
Is
Because
that
of
we
that,
know
yes.
ourselves more.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
We're often walking in our
Yes,
purpose when we
yes.
become mothers, or we're on our way.
Yes.
I've lived a life, for
I
sure.
can see, I've traveled.
Yeah.
I've seen the world. I want to give my daughter those experiences. But I also have a very rich experience where young people open up to me and they tell me things. So then it helps me to become a better and stronger mom, and to not just see the world from my lens, but understand the lens of a young person growing up in 2025. Because growing up in 2025 and growing up even 5 years ago is a very different experience.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? So I feel like for myself, going back to your question, I feel like I haven't had to really go off course too much. I'm still on my path. And I'm on a path that it's almost like I believe with the work I do, I'm sowing seeds.
You are.
Right? I'm sowing seeds, and I'm hoping that with all the work that I do, that my daughter will be able to benefit from that. This is kind of going along that legacy line as well. And I want to be able to continue that, and I will continue that, So yeah, that would be for me.
I think both are great examples of like thinking of legacy, right? So whether it's leaning into, like you said, remaining in that entrepreneurial space because you're knowing you're doing like important work with the youth. And then there's also looking at legacy and saying, I was going 100 miles an hour and now I am choosing to go 20. I am choosing to slow down. I am choosing to be intentional with my time, with my energy, because I know that right now, because I'm not going to be able to get this time back. And both are very important and special in their own right.
And I will say that because of having a child at an older age, I've been able to master different seasons. Yeah. So when it gets to, say, my fitness piece, right? That piece now, I'm working with moms again. I'm helping them on their journeys. I'm working with dads, helping them on their journeys. And I'm kind of fusing it all together. And it's such a beautiful blend. And just even being intentional, even with the clients that I work with, I'm very intentional with my clients. Like, it's like, is this a good match? If it's not, then let's not do it.
You have more of a soft spot for moms?
I have a soft spot for moms and dads. I do. Because they're all both on a different journey. And it's actually teaching me as well through this. So.
Oh, that's beautiful. And right on time with our light buzzer. So we will pause right there as we, start to begin to wrap this up in our fourth quarter, but really been enjoying this conversation and just so enriching is what I would say. So thank you both. We will take a quick break and we'll come back with the fourth quarter of Mama and Her. Stay with us.
Welcome back to the fourth quarter of Mama and Her. We've been talking about a lot of things, and I know, Kym, you were just talking about legacy and the importance of that and your hope for the legacy you're leaving for your daughter.
Yes, so I think what's important when it comes to legacy is more so what you leave in your child versus than what you leave for them. And if there was definitely I would say two things that I want to definitely be able to leave with my daughter. I would say, one, a standard worth having, and more so along the lines of mental fortitude, because I think that, like, you look at today's world, and I think everything begins and ends in the mind. Always has and always will. And then also faith. Having that as her anchor,
Yes.
and her compass. If I could give her those two things, I fulfill my purpose here for her, for the job that I'm supposed to do. If she's anchored in her faith, she'll always have her faith. She may or may not always have her parents or people around her.
My gosh, you're being so emotional.
But it's the truth. Like, if you can, and I say this, I'm very passionate about this, because when I work with young people and I gather with them, that's what they're missing.
Yeah.
I work in the public system. I do not work in the Catholic system. I work in the public system. And what I see is I see lost souls.
Yeah.
Come on.
And I see it, and it's so sad.
Yeah.
And I don't have the right in there to speak about that. I have to keep it generic. But what I see is lost souls. And I see a generation of young people that are missing, they need a compass.
Yeah.
They need to know where to go. And they need to know where to go when there's nobody there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's such a, it's
foundation.
it's a big task. Like when you really stopped and paused to think about like how to instill that into your children. This feeling of, I don't want to mess up Kennedy, and I don't mean mess her up, but like you want to do it the right way, and so it creates pressure on yourself. I guess good pressure in a sense. Nneka, how about you when it comes to this idea of legacy? Like, what do you want to instill, or what would you like to see be passed down when you think of Rain as she continues to grow into this little girl and young woman?
I know she's already taught me so much. Like she is the one who's teaching us, and that kids do that all the time.
Yeah.
But similar to what Kym said, like definitely that grounding, that foundation, that's so important. Family and faith. And her having a self-awareness, having a strong sense of self. And to be honest, in order for you to have that strong sense of self and that grounding and that foundation, you need the cultural piece as well. The culture of not just like, okay, yeah, we're from the Caribbean and she's also East African, that combination. Her knowing those things, where people are from, her finding pride in those ancestral groundings, that's really important to us in passing that down. And then also, just knowing that she's a child of God. That is my message to her every morning. You're a child of God. You are blessed. You have nothing to worry about. And she always says, yes, Mommy, I have nothing to worry about. I am blessed. I love God. I love, and it warms my heart to see her relationship with God building, and the prayers that she says, the prayers. Just so beautiful and simple.
Yeah.
And I feel like
it's so pure at that age.
Yes.
They just talk to God. They just,
How it should be, right?
Yeah.
That's why the Bible says like he wants us to be childlike.
Yes.
So and I think now seeing our kids, I get it. I totally get it. Also too, I guess because of course, aside from Nehemiah, we're all girl moms, and so there is that importance of that mother to daughter relationship. I know this may be a loaded question, but did you have a strong mother relationship? And depending on what that answer may be, how are you trying to forge it with your own daughter?
So I didn't have a strong mother to daughter, like mother relationship. To be honest, when I first found out I was pregnant, I thought I was having a boy.
So did I.
Right? And I was like, we're having a boy. We're having a boy. And it was October 31st when we got the paper. We sat at dinner. I'm like, go open. This is a boy. I know it's a boy. And then it was a female. And I was like, okay. So that kind of played on me a bit, right? Because bearing the fact that I did not have a natural, I would say, relationship with my mom, the way that most people would envision it to be, I questioned myself as raising a female right? And I think a lot of how I even respond to females, a lot of that in my own reflection is how it stems from my relationship with my mom as well.
Yeah.
Right? Which a lot of people probably wouldn't even realize. You'd have to get as that close to me to really say, okay, Kym is kind of, people would see me as a bit standoffish sometimes, but it's not even that. It's more so that fear factor. It's like, if I get too close, what's going to happen?
Right.
Right? And being at this age now and being able to have that consciousness, it helps me to rationalize a lot of things, but I'm able to work through it and understand things a lot better now. And also, I think it will help me to be a better mom, to be honest. So that would be not the traditional answer where most people are like, their mom is their rock. Mine is a little bit different.
It's okay.
You know, but and I guess as I get older and as Zendaya gets older and I'm able to explain things to her, she'll also have her own perspective on things as well. And I'm open to that as well, whatever that's going to be.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, my mom and I certainly we are very close still, and we get closer and closer. And she really is my best friend. Growing up, she was very much career focused, and my brother always says, "Oh, we were latchkey kids. You know, we would get picked up from after school and then just be home." And I think in some ways, because of that, I wanted to be not like that in bringing up Rain. Not that she was very much present, single mom, but very, very present. And the people around me, my great aunts who also raised me, they were more, the community would be there, the churches, the church teas and the cooking and the gardening so I have both sides in terms of my maternal compass, and I am a little bit opposite from how my mom did it, but I feel like I'm leaning in a little bit more to my like great aunts and the things that I loved about like hosting and just being that. But yeah, my mom and my daughter have a beautiful relationship, and that's just wonderful to see.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, that's beautiful. Okay, looking at the time, want to be mindful of it. So typically, ladies, how we sort of wrap up the show is we will ask each guest sort of rapid fire questions about motherhood. So first thing that comes to your mind, it could be a sentence or a word, but just the first thing that comes to your mind, and then we'll go from there. So I'll kick things off?
Sure.
Okay, we'll start with you, Kym.
Okay.
Motherhood is?
Unconventional.
Nneka?
Me too? Same
Yeah,
question?
yes,
Oh my gosh.
yes, yes,
Okay,
yes, questions, yes,
I always say magic and mayhem.
Oh,
That is true. I agree with that.
What is the best advice about motherhood you have ever been given?
Enjoy the moment. The years are long,
but
but the days
the days
are long, but the years are short.
Shout out to Love Every.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, best advice is, it doesn't have to be perfect. Sort of just let it breathe. Let the moment breathe. You know?
Yeah. What's the worst advice you've been given about
Sleep
motherhood?
when the baby sleeps.
Yeah.
That's a popular one.
Sleep when the baby sleeps, because I don't get that one still.
How am I gonna doom scroll? Am I gonna like constantly search about, is she breathing right?
breathing?
No. Yeah, exactly. That, and just when people say just wait till you wait, just wait.
Oh, just wait till you get to that.
Wait till
Yes.
you, yeah. I don't know. Let me just experience my own situation.
Okay. I wish my mom told me.
That it would be so hard. I feel like after I had my daughter, we had more deep conversations about why we even moved. Like I was born here, and then we left. My parents split up, and then we left, and just the details about why, and some of the same things I was struggling with. I wish she would have been a bit more open about that.
Yeah.
That it would be a mirror.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Right up in there. Yeah.
the magnifying mirror, you know, like the
Yes.
3 times.
The one where you pluck your eyebrows with. Yeah. All right. Last question. What would you tell your younger self if you could?
It would all make sense. It will all make sense.
That's good.
Trust yourself, trust your gut, trust in God.
Trust the process.
Trust.
Trust. That is the big takeaway word is trust. Yeah. So Kym, you had mentioned that this was a beautiful prayer that you prayed while you were pregnant and even after, but it's, I think, a great way for us to end the episode for any woman out there who's listening, perhaps if they're still waiting on their baby, or perhaps they're pregnant right now and they're going through it. But go ahead and share it with us.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me share this, and I hope it blesses another mama. Lord, I thank you for blessing the fruit of my womb. I declare that this pregnancy will be full term. Your word says that you formed and fashioned my baby in the womb. So I declare, because the Lord is my shepherd, this baby lacks nothing. I declare that every part of my baby is being made perfect. Every organ, every cell, and every part of its development is made perfect in Jesus' name. I speak to my body and to my baby and to every organ to function properly, perfectly, as you intended from the beginning, Lord. I declare my bones and joints will spread the way they should. My cervix will soften and dilate easily, quickly and without issue, and I declare health and wholeness for me and this baby. I rebuke all fear and I cast out anxiety and all forms of pain in the name of Jesus. I declare that my body is capable of doing what it needs to deliver this baby without suffering. I declare a supernatural, pain-free birthing experience with no complications, quick delivery, and a peaceful environment start to finish. I declare I will not die. Instead, I will live to tell what the Lord has done, according to your word in Psalm 118:17. I'm filled with unlimited strength and power that comes from our Heavenly Father, and I refuse to allow the devil to steal the truth in this moment for us. Thank you, Father, that you are doing exceedingly above all we can ask or think in this pregnancy, labor, and delivery, as your word says in Ephesians 3:20. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
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 Amen. That is beautiful. And thank you so much for sharing that with not only us, but of course with our community as well. Ladies, thank you so much, honestly, for stopping by and just for having this conversation and for showing our community the ways in which mature motherhood looks and how it is multifaceted and how it can be a thriving season of life and not one where it is doom and geriatric and all of that stuff that, you know, sometimes society
It's that a
puts
little
on it.
bit, but just a dash, but not all.
But no, we thank you so much. We really appreciate your time. And thank you, of course, for tuning in and for always rocking with us as well. And again, you can follow us on all social medias. We are at Mama and Her Podcast. So on behalf of Nneka, Kym, Shannon, and myself, thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next time.